And today, we're continuing our series on the steps of manifestation and diving into our second step of manifestation is to shift our consciousness. Because it is impossible to create something new in your life. It is impossible to create something new in the world until you shift what's already in you. Because if you look around and look at your life right now, it is a perfect indicator of what you believe. Take a deep breath on that. Your life and the world you live in is a perfect indication of the beliefs that you hold to be rock solid in your life. And if you want to shift that, if you want to create something new, you must start on the inside. You cannot start on the outside saying, well, when that shifts, then I will change who I am. It doesn't work that way. It works from within. And when we can expose a new way of being, create something new from within, the outside has no choice but to shift. And we're often surprised, actually amused by it at moments too. When we shift, everything has to.
I just made something unexpected, something sharp, something new. It's not symmetrical or perfect, but it's beautiful and it's mine. What else can I do?
Bring it in, bring it in.
What else can I do?
Bring it in, bring it in.
I grow rows and rows of roses, flor de mayo, by the mile. I make perfect, practiced poses. So much hides behind my smile. What could I do if I just grew what I was feeling in the moment?
Do you know where you're going?
What could I do if I just knew it didn't need to be perfect? It just needed to be, and they let me be. A hurricane of jacarandas, strangling figs, hanging vines. Palma de cera fills the air as I climb and I push through. What else can I do? Can I deliver us a river of sundew? Careful, it's carnivorous, a little just won't do. I wanna feel the shiver of something new. I'm so sick of pretty, I just want something true, don't you?
You just seem like your life's been a dream since the moment you opened
How
your
far do
eyes.
these roots go down?
I know why the blossoms you grow, but it's awesome to see how you rise.
How far can I rise through the roof to the skies? Let's go! A hurricane of jacarandas, strangling figs, hanging vines. Palma de cera fills the air as I climb and I push through.
What else? What else?
What can you do when you are deeply, madly, truly in the moment?
Seize the moment, keep going.
What can you do when you know who you wanna be is imperfect, but I'll still be
Hey,
okay?
everybody clear the way.
I'm coming through without nebulia, making waves, changing minds. The way is clearer 'cause you're here and well. I owe this all to you. What else can I
Show what you
do?
can do.
What else can I do?
Yes. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, Ava and Jessica. Woo. That amazing moment when we get to realize, oh, I can do something differently. I can create different, and it doesn't, I love that lyric, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. Because there is no perfect There's only growing, expanding, expectation, and intention. We have, as I mentioned, your life, your world, is a perfect demonstration of your beliefs. And we have this constant repetition going on in our head. We believe it, we think it, we affirm it, we say it, even the subconscious parts, and especially the subconscious parts. We can see it in psychology and in New Thought. We know confirmation bias. If we believe something, we find proof of it everywhere, right? And the law of attraction is when we believe something, we find it everywhere, right? That vibrational energy is the same in psychology as it is in spirituality. There is no difference. There's only one, folks. Only one power and one presence. Our mind are an extension of the divine. So what happens in psychology, what happens in our own beliefs, our opinions, our constantly repetitive belief systems, or as I like to call it, our BS. Yes. Create our world. And what we get to do in this step of manifestation is to shift that. It's to shift what has always been. It's to shift what has been the decades of belief systems built on top of belief systems, probably from our parents, probably from caregivers, from teachers, from the world itself, from our exes. How much of our belief system is created by our ex-lovers, right? Oh, boy. When we own that, we make you want to run for the door, right? Whether it's in reaction to them or because of something they taught you and you bought into, right? So what we get to do in this step is the shadow work. Is the shadow work of actually shifting our consciousness. Now, shadow work, if you don't know the term, was coined by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung, and it talks about looking into our subconscious and looking for the things that we have repressed, the beliefs and the ideas that we think aren't socially acceptable, so we deny that we have them. We deny that we lie. Well, there's not a person on the planet who lies. I lie about my weight all the time. Right? We may lie about our age. We may lie about whether we do something or not because we don't think people are going to like us. Now, whether it's huge or minor, we all have that capacity, right? It's a little white lie. Oh, yeah, I did that. Well, I didn't. Oh, I read it. I looked at it. Did I actually read it? All those little things because we want to be liked. We want to keep our jobs. We want to fit in with the societal norms. And these things that we think aren't acceptable become part of our shadow consciousness. And if we say it long enough, if we say it over and over and over again, we believe that it's not actually happening. And then what we do is we project those things we don't like about ourselves onto someone else. We say, well, they're the liar. They're the mean one. I'm not mean. I'm not mean, really. Right? I don't ever do that. I don't ever cut corners. And we project it onto other people, whether it be politicians we don't like, whether it be ex-lovers we don't like, right? Or whatever it is, we project. What also happens, though, too, is there's parts of ourselves that we can't own and we repress because it feels arrogant. To know that we're powerful, to know that we are divine, to know that we are made in the image and likeness of God, to know that we are wise and that we are okay just as we are. And so those things become shadows too. And we project it onto other people. We say, well, they have all the power. They can make the world a different place. I can't. So we elect presidents because we think the presidents are going to make the world a better place. And then we get disappointed when they don't. And we elect someone else, and they are going to make the world a better place. and we project all of our power, all of our strength, all of our wisdom out. When it actually is part of the shadow work is to own that part of ourselves too. Yes, right? It is a two-way street, folks, that we are made in the image and likeness of God. We are divinely made, powerful creatures of love, life, and expression right here on earth. And we act and we behave like, I can't do anything. What you gonna do? That's just the way things is. The politics sucks. The world is bafflingly bad. And I can't change the gun laws. Well, who the hell can? If not you, who? You know, as I watched the news this week and listened to the news this week, after a 14-year-old killed 4 people and injured 7 others, I heard the policeman, obviously traumatized by what he had just seen and had to clean up, come to the microphone and talk about the evil of this perpetrator, calling a 14-year-old boy evil, and they wouldn't stand for it, and they were going to eradicate and punish the evil, and that they were going to persecute this child as an adult. They were going to try them for murder as an adult. Well, think of the 14-year-olds in your life. Think of the 14-year-olds you know in your family. Think of you as a 14-year-old. And why we do that, not to make this cop wrong, not to make this really well-meaning and traumatized servant of us wrong, but what we do is we cannot face our own shadow. Each and every one of us use devastating, harmful, and killing words in our daily life. Each and every one of us have the capacity to want to slaughter people. We get so mad, we want to do that. And since we can't face that part about ourselves, that we do kill, for those of us who eat meat, we kill to stay alive on a daily basis. For those of us who think that that's not part of their being, I invite you to look at the words you use when we decimate people, where you eradicate. And we use words that are hostile and violent, and we want to see certain people who we don't like shot. I watched it as former President Trump was nearly assassinated, and watched the reaction among all of us. And be honest if yourself, if you didn't have that thought, right? That's the shadow, folks. That's the shadow work we all have to do. And to think it's just this kid and his father and all those others who think that guns are good. It is a pervasive aspect of our society. Many of you know, 3 years ago in October, I lost my 17-year-old nephew to gun violence. He took a gun from his house and shot himself because he couldn't go on anymore. That gun was in his house because we all believe that we have to protect ourselves from this thing. Now, he lived in this little tiny town in Louisiana where there was no violence, and his family had never been attacked or held up at gunpoint, but I have a sister-in-law who carries a handgun in her purse. We all have relatives who have the guns loaded and ready, and it has been pervasive that we have to have guns to defend ourselves. We look at that at the micro level, and we see that there is this attitude that violence is the answer for our protection, for our well-being, and then we get surprised when the children who look to us pick them up. Well, it's not anyone out there, folks. It's all of us who are doing this. All of us. And if you don't think it's happening in your own life, in the collective consciousness, look at what we do as nations. We arm ourselves to the teeth. Arm ourselves to the teeth. And the only politicians who get elected is the ones who promise that they will buy more and more guns. Look at what is happening across the globe. where people use violence, use war, use children as pawns in the battle, be it in Israel, in Gaza, in Ukraine, and in Russia, in sub-Saharan Africa, all over. There is this violence taking over the planet. And where does it start? Here. The truth is, it starts within us. But there are some things we can do. The power of the shadow work lies in the ability to transform our inner landscape, leading to profound shifts in our outer reality. When we stop thinking it's their fault, that it's the Republicans or the Democrats or it's that politician, it's that group, it's the NRA that's the fault, and we stop otherizing them, we can actually take responsibility for our own hostility, our own anger, our own unforgiveness, and start building, step by step, a new outer reality. We have to let go of resentments. Because trust me, if you've lived on this planet long enough, you have them. On this earth and interacting with others in work, in love, in life, will inevitably lead to resentments. They did me wrong. There's whole songs written about it, right? How wrong they did me. Examining and releasing our resentments is essential to our own spiritual growth. Resentments are like taking poison and wishing the other person would die. It's true. It poisons us. We are the first recipient of those lessons. And then it comes to this moment where we have to go, okay, so my belief system is that they were wrong and I need them to suffer. They were wrong. They did me wrong. They behaved wrong. They were mean. They were bad. They were evil, and they must suffer now. So we make the 14-year-old boy suffer for the rest of his life. We make his father suffer too. We make justice out of more pain, out of more unforgiveness. What if we used love instead of revenge, love instead of blame, love instead of fear? Forgiveness doesn't mean that we say what happened is okay. It's absolutely not. But forgiveness is to understand that that 14-year-old boy didn't do that out of nowhere. It is all of our sickness. It is all of our responsibility to create a world that works for everyone, no exceptions and no exclusions. It is all of our responsibility to step in and acknowledge our own shadow in it, our own part in it, acknowledging who we have been, our mistakes, our anger, and asking to be forgiven and accepted as we are is one of the most courageous things we can do as human beings. It is not for the faint of heart to go, I messed up. I completely was wrong. Can you forgive me? Can we start this again? Can we, as a community, do this differently? Can we as a people, a nation, and a planet move past righteousness into communion with each other? No, I don't know how it's going to look. That's really part of this manifestation process. It has to look different than I know, than any one of us knows. Because when it looks different than we can imagine, it's a sign it's from God. It's from Spirit. It's from something higher than our petty human consciousness, right? And when we are in revenge, when we're in hatred, when we're in blame, we are not in our highest spiritual consciousness, folks. We're not. Let's admit that and admit that we all go there. I mean, there's this tendency in New Thought to go, oh, but I'm all just positive. I'm all just happy, and I love everyone. Really? Really? Can we be courageous enough to admit there's people we hate? Whew. Right? There are things we hate. And when we can step into that feeling and feel those feelings all the way through to the end, all the way through to the end of that feeling, we get to a place where we can become self-aware. Doesn't mean those feelings then define us, but denying them is what defines us, because they stay repressed and they stay part of the shadow and the subconscious mind, and unacknowledged, they do run our lives subconsciously. The power in doing the shadow work is that we become aware. We get to see ourselves in the mirror clearly. And those things start to lose their power. And we get to manifest a new image, a new identity in the world that is much more powerful, much more useful, and much more loving. Because we have loved all parts of ourselves, we then have the capacity to love others exactly the way they are. In a few minutes, we're going to say that to our kids. We see you and we love you exactly the way you are. Can we say that to every other human being on the planet? New thought, aren't we? Can we stand in front of those people we think are against us and hate us and say, I see you and I love you exactly the way you are? That's the spiritual work that shifts everything. As we integrate the parts of ourselves we have rejected, we become more whole and balanced. This integration allows us to access our full potential and live more harmoniously with ourselves and others. So the journey to manifestation means we have to do this difficult work, this shadow work. It means we need to name and claim what we want. We want a world that works for everyone, no exceptions, no exclusions. We have to take the time, I clicked that by mistake, take the time to shift our own consciousness and understand where we are not accepting and do the work necessary to change that. Then we can take the concrete steps necessary in the world to make something new, to share the journey with others and enroll other people in doing the exact same thing. And as Margaret Mead said, never doubt that a small group of committed and determined people can change the world. In fact, it is the only thing that ever has. And then we get to be open to how it shows up, because Spirit has so much more in store for us than we can ever imagine for ourselves.